Hi there ladies and gentlemen, this is Eastwood for Life fan, and this is a video of my pickups for the month of December 2017. And before I get to the pickups, I'd like to say Happy New Year to everybody out there. Hope they had a great Christmas and may the new year be a great one to everybody within the YouTube community. So we'll get to the Blu-rays first and what I picked up in the last month of 2017. First one I picked up is this World War II classic movie, which I can't remember if I have seen this movie, and a good friend of mine told me about this movie and the amount of stars that was featured in this World War II movie. And although it has Robert Mitchum, Henry Fonda and John Wayne on the front cover, on the back it does state that also in this movie stars 48 international stars. So I'll be looking forward to checking this one out and see who I can recognise that's in this movie. I do know Sean Connery has a role in this movie, and it's basically about the two sides and the countries featured into the build-up of World War II. But it's a great one and looking forward to checking out The Longest Day. Next up is the 88 Films release of The Mercenary, also known as A Professional Gun, late 1960s spaghetti western directed by Sergio Corbucci, who made classics like Django. And this one stars Franco Nero, Antonio Mussanti, who was in The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. I do know that Kino put a release of this movie out in the US a few months ago, and just as I was going to order the Kino release, I found out that 88 Films was going to release this spaghetti western classic, and a very good one and a worthy pickup in The Mercenary. Horror classic that was missing out of my collection, that's the early 70s horror classic The Exorcist, and this has the extended director's cut, which I haven't seen before. I'm looking forward to checking out, as I have seen The Exorcist many years ago, but that was the uncut version. I'm looking forward to revisiting this horror classic starring Linda Blair, of a young girl who gets possessed. And also comparing this with The Omen, as which one is the better movie in The Exorcist or The Omen. Picked up a nice digibook from my local CEX store, The Sting, starring Paul Newman and Robert Redford, playing two con men in the 1930s in Chicago. And these digibooks can be quite expensive, and I was surprised to see this in my local CEX store, as it was priced at £20. Then a few weeks later it got dropped in price down to £10, and that was a bargain in my eyes. And The Sting is one of them classic movies that I've only sort of seen bits of or half of the film, as I love the Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, so I'm hoping The Sting is going to be near as good as that or better. A blind buy that I picked up is this Sean Connery movie, The Offence, directed by Sidney Lumet, who made a few movies with Sean Connery, but I haven't seen this one before. and this one's about a police detective in the UK investigating a suspected child molester. And I don't recall in seeing this, but again I picked this up in my local CX store for a good price. And Sidney Lumet made some good movies with Al Pacino, Dog Day Afternoon and Serpico. So this is definitely worth checking out. Early 70s Sean Connery movie. Next one I picked up is this American release put out by Dorado Films, and this is a Euro crime movie pack, and this was a fairly expensive pickup, but Euro crime movies are quite hard to sort of pick up on Blu-ray, let alone DVD. But this is a fantastic release of 3 movies of The Counselor, starring Thomas Millian, who made many spaghetti westerns, one of my favourite actors. Weapons of Death, starring Leonard Mann and Henry Silva, who always plays a great villain. And Special Cop in Action, starring Maurizio Merli. And it's a nice little release, 2-disc set, and it does have a nice poster and booklet with it. Just hoping there be a few more labels that are gonna put out some more Italian 70s Eurocrime movies. I mean, Blue Underground, Arrow and Raro put out a few releases, but this set is limited to 650 and my one's numbered at 265, so a worthy pickup if you like your Italian Eurocrime movies. Another horror classic that was missing out of my collection was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's a horror cult classic, this one, directed by Toby Hooper, and this is a UK 2-disc edition. I know there's quite a few releases of this movie, and I've got to be honest, years ago when I watched this as a mid-teen, I kind of didn't like it, to be honest, but years later when I watched it again as a more developed adult, I really loved this creepy horror movie, and it's one of the great ones, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Also picked up The French Connection 2, which I picked up the steelbook of the original movie, The French Connection, starring Gene Hackman as the brutal cop Popeye Doyle, and the second one takes the French Connection case to Marseille in France, and I do remember that Hackman does get drugged in this movie, but looking forward to checking out these 2 movies again. Gene Hackman in The French Connection 2. A beautiful Arrow pickup, which I think a lot of you YouTubers would have picked up, is the Carrie movie, a Brian De Palma classic starring Sissy Spacek, and another beautiful edition put out by Arrow once again. These collector's edition, limited and stacked with loads of features, and another winner from Arrow in Carrie. Another spaghetti western that I picked up is Lucio Fulci's last spaghetti western that he made in the late 70s, starring Giuliano Gemma. This is Silver Saddle. This one's a German release, but does have an English audio. And this is another one to check out and put in my spaghetti western collection. Do like Giuliano Gemma, Italian actor, made many and many spaghetti westerns. And another release a lot of you guys would have picked up is the new transfer of Terminator 2, one of the great action movies in the 90s, directed by James Cameron, one of the most expensive movies that was made at the time. This is the Zavvi Steelbook of Terminator 2. And as Terminator movies go, I actually prefer the original with Arnie as the bad guy, where this one he is the good guy. But one of the movies in the 90s that kind of set the standard in special effects, but definitely a great one to put into the collection in Terminator 2. A Charles Bronson movie that was given to me by a fellow YouTuber, which I'd like to give a big shout out to, and that's Big Chris. And I will link Big Chris's channel down below. And Big Chris is a massive Charles Bronson fan, as well as myself. And he contacted me if I wanted a copy of Yes, Virginia, There is a Santa Claus, which is a late Charles Bronson movie. This is more of a Christmas TV movie, and this got released by Shout Factory in the US a few months ago. And I kindly said to Chris I wouldn't mind a copy of this if he had a spare copy, and he sent it to us. And it's a pretty good sort of Christmas family movie. It's good seeing Charles Bronson, as this movie was missing in my Charles Bronson collection. But do check out Chris's channel. He has a fantastic Charles Bronson collection, 100% Charles Bronson collection, and he has quite a few videos showing his collection off. So many thanks, Big Chris, for sending this title out to us. Also picked up this Clint Eastwood movie, which he directed, starring Leonardo DiCaprio in J. Edgar, about the first director of the FBI. And this is another movie that I will put in my Clint Eastwood collection, which I plan to do a few videos within the next couple of months. But not checked this one out yet. Even if Clint Eastwood is not starring in movies, as a director I rate him very highly. American Western I picked up for a cheap price at my local CX store. Superman Falls, starring Pierce Brosnan and Liam Neeson. And not a bad American Western for a modern day one. Another cheap buy from CX. This is Rutger Hauer movie, Hobo with a Shotgun. And not seen a lot of the latest Rutger Hauer movies that he's made, but they were selling this in my local CX store for £1, and that's a worthy buy even for £1. I always liked Rutger Hauer in his movies in the 80s and 90s, and it's a big crying shame that is probably his biggest movie, The Hitcher, still hasn't had a Blu-ray release. So I'm hoping one day that a company like Arrow puts out The Hitcher, probably Rutger Hauer's best movie that he's made in my opinion. But we'll check out Hobo with a Shotgun. Also picked up The Walking Dead Season 3, and we'll be viewing Season 1, and I do know this is a very popular TV series, as I think they've got to about season 7 or 8 at the moment, and I do have now the first 3 seasons to check out of The Walking Dead, one of the biggest TV series on at the moment. Another Clint Eastwood movie that I picked up, and this is Sully, American on the Hudson, starring Tom Hanks. This is based on a true story about a miracle on the Hudson River, and Tom Hanks, fine actor, very rarely featured in a bad movie. We're looking forward to checking this one out, as I haven't seen the last few movies with Tom Hanks. And a few DVDs that I've picked up, only 2. And you know that I always pick up a few spaghetti westerns. And this spaghetti western is a early 70s spaghetti western. They Call Me Hallelujah, starring George Hilton, another actor who made many spaghetti westerns and Eurocrime and horror movies. And this one's a bootleg, as this one's never had an official release with English audio. So I got this for a very cheap price, and this will be going into my spaghetti western collection. And I also picked up the sequel to that movie, and this one's Return of Hallelujah, again with George Hilton. And this too is a bootleg and never had a English audio release, but this one has more comedy than the original movie. And this too will go in my spaghetti western collection. And I also picked up this spaghetti western book, Any Gun Can Play, the essential guide to Euro westerns, by Kevin Grant. And this is like a bible to the spaghetti western genre, and I picked this up for a good price. And if you're a spaghetti western fan, definitely a book worthy of picking up, as I'll probably do a small video showcasing this great book that I picked up from Amazon UK. So that was all the Blu-rays, DVDs and book that I picked up in the month of December 2017. Probably the next video I will be showing is the spaghetti western book that I just showed there in a separate video, and plus coming up soon will be my spaghetti western collection part 3. So until the next video, take care guys, stay healthy and keep on collecting.